Hello everyone, it's Georgia Sweeting from Total Telecom and we're here at Connect to Britain Day 1. I'm delighted to be joined by Catherine Colloms from Openreach. Catherine, thank you so much for joining me. How are you finding Connect to Britain Day 1 so far?
It's really great. I mean, you can hear a bit of the buzz that's going on here. Fantastic to be in a new venue. There's so much popularity and demand to understand connectivity in the UK that we've moved to the Excel, and it's incredibly vibrant and busy, so really great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And so just diving straight in then, what do you think is the key to building sustainable competition in the UK?
Well, I think we have an incredibly dynamic and hopefully sustainable market as it is. You know, at Openreach, our build is going incredibly successfully. We have a target to reach 25 million premises with FTTP by 2026. We're nearly halfway towards that target, so we're about 11.5 million premises built, heading towards that sort of magic 12.5, which we'll get to by the middle of the year. And we're actually seeing really fantastic take-up on the network, because obviously I think if you talk about and think about a sustainable environment, it's not just the build. I think we've all been very focused on the build to date, but obviously now it's about take-up. So we've got about 3.7 million customers on the platform, so looking at sort of early 30% take-up, so we're super pleased with that. But I think, back to the question about how we sustain this and move it forward, the key to any long-term infrastructure and sustainable telecoms market in the UK is the right regulatory and policy framework. And I think actually we have that exists at the moment. You can see that looking at the number of people who are here today. It's not just us as the incumbent doing this very large build. You've got lots of altnets, very small altnets with very sort of specific regional or particular kind of pockets of buildings or premises that they go for. You've got the sort of larger altnets, but we are all being able to invest and thrive in this market, and that's the critical piece, I feel. So we're halfway through the game. If you think about fibring the whole UK, it's working. So what we need not to do at this point is change the rules, and we need to maintain that really great policy and regulatory framework that's allowing all of us to invest.
Great, thank you. And just on that point about altnets, there's a lot of talk at the moment about altnet consolidation. What's your kind of opinion on that?
So look, I think in terms of where the market gets to, customers dictate how many players can potentially be in a market. You take the retail market in broadband, we have over 600 CPs on the Openreach platform, so it shows you that customers are very willing to embrace choice and embrace diversity. So I think we will continue to see quite a competitive marketplace across the whole UK for telecoms. As I said, you've got some of these very niche players in either niche markets or regions, so I think that will continue to survive and thrive. And as long as that regulatory environment supports it, you'll continue to have loads of players in the market. Will you have quite as many as we have now? You only have to look back to the cable times in the cable industry to see that at some stage there's probably a degree of consolidation that comes. But I remember Matthew Hare, who is a sort of long-term entrepreneur when it comes to altnets, talking about his vision that every household would have something like 3 full fibre individual connections into the home, and some might be dedicated to particular services like healthcare. So if you think about the way that the economy and the way that we live and work is developing, it all is fundamentally based on fantastic connectivity. As a result, I think the market can grow and grow, and so the consumers would ultimately determine what that sustainable market looks like.
Great, thank you. And later this afternoon, you're on a panel talking about sustainability. How do you think that's going to play out? What do you think the key kind of topics are going to be on that?
So I think we're going to be discussing a lot of the things we've just raised and talked about. So if you think about where the market is and where it needs to get to, we've been in a massive build phase. It's been a build race. Lots of the altnets have been measured on how much they can build. That is now switching to an environment where it's all about take-up and what your penetration is and how many customers you can get onto the platform. So I think there'll be lots of conversation around that take-up and where you can take that. Again, if you think about the total UK market and where we need to get to, we're probably about halfway through in terms of fibring the country, but we've got some of the really tricky bits left. So in particular, we've got the tough rural bits of the UK left, and the UK is not an easy country to build to. It's not a Portugal. We have lots of mountains and rivers, and it's very challenging, which we know because we are currently building the R100 project in Scotland, which is tackling some of the hardest to reach places in the Highlands and Islands. And we also have the rural Project Gigabit projects, which will help fill in the gaps. We're trying to do our bit commercially. So we have a commitment within the 25 million build target numbers to get to 6.2 million commercially in Area 3. So we're nearly halfway, actually we're over halfway, we're 3.5 million into that target at the moment. But I think there'll be a big discussion around How do you ensure you don't have pockets of digital divide, and how do you fill in the market? And then I think the stuff we were talking about. So we need certainty and consistency in the regulatory and policy regime to ensure that we can continue to invest. These are not short-term business cases here. You know, our business case is a 20-year business case. We're not returning cash to investors for a substantial time. So we need to ensure that that environment in WFTMR 26 continues to support and sustain that investment.
Catherine, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great few days at Connected Britain.